Hello and welcome, everybody. It's Samannoy Ghosh, and it's a pleasure to be back again after a while. Um, but I thought, why not do this? And it's a pleasure to have someone with us today who has represented her nation, is the pride of the nation, I'd say, is captained the side, not only represented, and brought the team success. And at the same time, or after that, she's moved on to a different career and now is a broadcaster and commentator. It's none other than Isobel Joyce from Ireland, the former captain of the Ireland women's cricket team. Hello, Izzy, how are you?
Hi, Shamanoy. I'm great. All the better for linking back up with you after a couple of years. I think it's almost 2 years exactly since we met.
Absolutely. Yeah, almost 2 years. It was in May 2023, so just a month earlier. About time, I thought, why not call upon a good friend and a fellow colleague, and let's discuss what's going on with her and women's cricket as well.
Yeah, I mean, would have been great for the two of us to meet in Pakistan and be talking about it on the side of the field, but not to be this time around. But yeah, it's been brilliant actually watching from home and almost getting to watch it with a different lens. What's happened so far in these qualifiers,
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, apart from some of the results, I've really enjoyed watching just how close the nations have got together, where we wouldn't have had that in the past. So it's all about seeing the positives in life, isn't it?
Absolutely. Try and look at the brighter side always. Thanks for that, and thank you for joining us on the mic with Samannoy Ghosh, and uh, thank you for bringing the topic up of the ICC Women's Qualifiers, which is going on at the moment in Pakistan, where Bangladesh, Ireland, West Indies, Thailand, Pakistan, they're all featuring and they're all fighting for the two spots available to qualify for the Women's Cricket World Cup that is upcoming later this year in India, right? This is just an FYI for the ones who were not updated. But how do you think the qualifiers has gone so far, Izzy?
Well, I think, going into the tournament, there were two clear favourites, and that would have been Pakistan. Obviously, they have a rich history of being in World Cups, and they're the home team. So that's an obvious one. And then West Indies, you can't look past them because they've just got one of the biggest standout players in the world over the last number of years in Hayley Matthews. Now they're missing D Dot, and I think they would have loved to have her there. But yeah, so those would have been the two standouts. And Scotland are there as well, and they have been performing really well. They're on a massive upward trajectory. So but nobody thought that Thailand or Scotland would get close. They thought it would be West Indies, Pakistan, maybe Bangladesh because of the conditions, and then Ireland an outside chance because they're kind of this gritty little country from a cold area that might just upset the apple cart. But it's not really turning out like that, is it?
No, no, not really, not really. And it's true that Scotland are really putting up a show. Completely agree with you on that. And you never know, as they say, it's a game of uncertainty, glorious uncertainties. So, yeah, and I think it augurs well for the game at the end of the day. But thank you for naming it out again. So I'm constantly thanking you because my next question to you would have been that who are you two favorites? It's clear that it's Pakistan and the West Indies as the
Well,
favorites.
I'll jump in. I think they would have been the favourites beforehand, but now I'm thinking West Indies look very frail, and you're kind of hoping if you're a West Indian that a few other people will put their hands up a little bit more.
Mhm.
But I think Bangladesh have a really good chance. And I'm not just saying that because I'm talking to a Bangladeshi, but like just thinking about the makeup of the teams and the conditions and the pressure. Like if you think of Bangladesh and just thinking ahead, but Bangladesh, West Indies, that bowling team against the West Indies batting lineup, I think unless Hayley Matthews does a Hayley Matthews,
Mhm.
I think
Mhm.
what Bangladesh are favourites. So if you get Hayley Matthews out early, it's Bangladesh's to lose, and some of your batters are in great nick because you've got someone who's made 94, 100 from your captain. It's all looking good. I mean, I have the scorecard here. You only needed four batters in that one game so far. So Sharman Akhtar 94, and then Nigar Sultan Jyoti 101, and
Mhm.
Pinky, my favorite Bangladeshi player, also
Mhm.
got a 50.
Mhm.
So I actually think if you ask me right now, maybe not before the tournament, but ask me right now, I think actually Pakistan, Bangladesh is a good shout.
Yeah, Pakistan and Bangladesh. Thank you again. You're giving answers or saying whatever I need to thank you
I
for. But
just say whatever the person on the other side wants me to say. No, no.
yeah, good one, good one. Yeah, but so Bangladesh started well, um, but having said that, in all fairness to the Thailand team as well, do you think that that they were outclassed, or in terms of skills and the experience that the Bangladesh team has?
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think because I watched the game kind of on and off, but what struck me was it reminded me kind of previous qualifiers where you had your top two that you thought, or three maybe you thought were in with a chance of getting through, and then you had everyone else. And when the top two or so played everyone else, it was like those kinds of scorecards. And the difference for this qualifier is we're not going to have as many of those because there's kind of five and then one. And I hope Thailand prove me wrong. They have top class batters. That's why they're in this tournament, but they don't have as much quality throughout in either skill. And I think that's what's coming to the fore in the 50 over format. And I think that's where Ireland, when I was playing, that's where we were, because we weren't in the women's championship. And we're not like Scotland where they have people playing in the English setup, a lot of players who play a lot of 50 over cricket, but not in their own country necessarily. So now you have Ireland and Bangladesh, and you've got more teams in the women's qualifiers that are playing more cricket, and it just brings the quality and standard up, as you could
Hmm.
expect. But the good thing for women's cricket to say to ICC is, go, you backed these teams, you gave them extra support, you give them a few years, and then they come, okay, Ireland have lost two games, but they were in a position to win both of them, whereas we never really were in that position before in 50 over cricket. No, certainly not in my time, and even before the last 2 or 3 years. So yeah, I think Thailand could get there. Maybe it's a shout for including them in the women's championship. Zimbabwe joined the next one, but if they came in, and Scotland, it's starting to look like a much broader pool. And since we're going to more teams in the next World Cup, I think it's something that ICC should really look at.
Absolutely, absolutely, completely agree with you. And I also, second the thought. And I think, on behalf of both of us, it's fair if I say that we mean no disrespect to the Thailand
Mm.
women's team. And again, I think it's only good for cricket and women's cricket when these teams are coming to the fore, raising their hand up and performing. And I'd just like to touch base on the Bangladesh versus Thailand match, where the good part was that the top order got runs. Right, you
Yeah,
mentioned Farzana Hokpinki. She got a half century, but at the same time, I think the balance has increased ever since Sharmin Akhtar Shukta has made a comeback to the side, and it was the Ireland series when she made the comeback when Ireland were touring Bangladesh.
yeah,
Um, if I'm not wrong, that was last year.
yeah,
Yeah, it was last year. So, and she played really well. I think she's bringing in a lot more stability. You're not only dependent on, say, Farzana Haq Pinky and Nigar Sultana Jyoti if they don't perform. So
yeah,
she's. I think she. I think brings both of them and the top order and the middle order together, right? And it
yeah,
shows because she featured in both the partnerships. One of them with Farzana Pinky and Sharmin Akhtar Shukta. It was a 100+ partnership, and then a 152-run partnership between Sharmin Akhtar Shukta and and Nigar Sultana Jyoti, the captain, who scored a
yeah.
century.
Yeah, I think what was clear in that one day series was just the patience and the overall game plan of Bangladesh's top order as compared with Ireland's. Like Ireland, the Ireland batters were able to play good shots plenty of the time, but it's, can they link it together with just ticking it over? Are they able to choose the right deliveries to attack? Are they technically sound enough for a long enough period of time? So maybe a few frailties were shown there, and that's going to happen. It's a very young team. You're talking about players going back, and those three batters that you've mentioned have played a lot of cricket, and not just cricket, but one day cricket. And that's what this Ireland team is probably lacking, like bar a couple of players like Laura Delaney and even Gabby Lewis. But by and
Mhm,
large, they're so young.
mhm.
So that only comes with experience. And I think with a young, exciting team like Ireland, the only chance they're going to beat Bangladesh is if they're on. on the day, and maybe they'd get rid of a few of the top order very, very quickly.
Hmm.
And I think what we've seen from Jyoti is that she's so difficult to get out. Like,
Hmm.
even
Yeah.
see in T20 cricket, if I mean, I remember I was at the Asia Cup last year, and Bangladesh weren't in any great positions, but she was like an immovable object. Um, so she's almost Bangladesh's answer to Hayley Matthews, albeit she probably doesn't quite have the actual physical power. But with her lies the key. I think it's not
Yeah.
that others can't do it, but they know when she's in the middle, and the
Hmm.
whole team, I'm sure, when she's in the middle, they feel comfortable.
Yeah, they do. They do. And she's a great leader, and I think she plays with a lot of responsibility, not only with the bat in hand, but also when she's keeping the wickets. From behind the stumps, she you know
Mm.
marshals her troops, and at the same time, I think she brings them all together. She understands her side very well. Speaking of Nigar Sultana Jyoti, the captain, uh, scored her century. In fact, versus Thailand, 101, got out very late. Just to touch base before we get on to the Ireland team as well, on the Bangladesh versus Thailand match, that I was referring to the partnerships there, where Farzana Pinky got Farzana Pinky got a half century, and Shupta got a 94, and Jyoti getting her century. But also the bowlers getting to bowl, and two bowlers taking five first. That's the first in Bangladesh, for male and female cricket combined, two bowlers getting five first in a single match.
Yeah, it's actually harder than you think for that to happen. I mean, it sounds like a strange thing to say, but the chances of one other bowler not just coming in and nicking one, or a run out happening or something. So I love that stat, and I had a look at the figures obviously before coming on and talking to you, and I'm delighted for Fahima Khatoon that she got a fiver, because I think she flies under the radar a little bit in that Bangladesh bowling lineup.
Hmm.
She's
Hmm.
a rare, consistent leg spinner.
Hmm.
And she is such a fierce competitor. I mean, she was playing back when I was playing, and she's a live wire in the field. She's actually decent with the bat. I think she adds a lot to the batting lineup, especially if she can come in late on. But her bowling is so consistent. So for Bangladesh, their spinners are probably the most settled. And the one that I haven't really seen much of is Genital. Is it Ferdas? Ferdas?
Firdos,
Ferdas.
Firdos.
Well, it's my first real time seeing her, and I think she was cracking me up. And when I say that, I mean I was laughing at her responses, because she was just so into it. And when she took a wicket, anytime she took it, didn't matter if it was number 1 or 11,
Hmm.
she was absolutely living every moment. And I love that from a spinner, because as a captain, you know that if the game's in the balance, she's the one who's going to want the ball in her hand, because she feels like she can make a difference. So she's definitely one to keep an eye on. So the spinners for me, I mean, Rabea, we know how brilliant she is as well. She's been great over the last number of years. And Nahida Akhtar, I mean, when was the last time I saw her bowl less overs than any of the other bowlers? And when was the last time I saw her not take a wicket? So good news for Bangladesh, that if she's not taking wickets, you still have two bowlers that took five for.
Yeah, true, true. And again, I really, uh, you know, I'm with you on the point that when's the last time we saw Nahid Akhtar bowl less than the other bowlers, and not be amongst the wickets as well. But I think it augurs well, and for you to, I think for any team to win in such a tournament or make up, be at the top, you need different players to raise their hand up in different
Mm,
matches. And you mentioned Fahima. I think Jyoti highly values the services of Fahima. They call her the professor,
okay.
and she's someone besides Nahida who Jyoti really relies on, even on the
Yeah.
field, and she's very active on the field. And you mentioned Janal Fredo Shumona. I think she too, had a gap in Bangladesh cricket, but she was in Australia. She played there, and she worked on herself, and then she's come back, and I've met her. I've actually done a stint, done a few stints of commentary. We had a
Okay.
gig together, and if I'm not wrong, it was in the Ireland series itself. Where no, it was the India series when the India women's team were traveling their tour of Bangladesh, and Shimona was there, and we talked, and she mentioned how eager she was to be part of the setup again, represent the red and green again, and and now they're coming through with the performances. Now, before we get on with the Bangladesh and Ireland match, Um,
Mhm.
First of all, commiserations for the loss, for the
Yeah.
losses. But and I've seen the Ireland team. I I actually like the fact that it's a very young setup, and if they keep on, if they're consistent and they keep on playing, someday they're gonna go big. And particularly Gabby Lewis, she is so young yet so mature.
Yeah, I mean, their their average age is something like 21, 22. And when you take into account, like Laura Delaney is probably the only one over 30, I think. So you take her out and it goes even younger than that. And we're
Hmm.
missing a couple of young spinners. So there's a big group there, and there are lots of talented players coming through. And the key is, I suppose, they keep on playing. And for us, it's our first time in our history that we've consistently had contracts for the women's team. So all of the contracted players are being paid and different kinds of contracts. So that they have two main ones, which is a full time contract. So Gabby Lewis would be on that, or the Prendergast, those types of players. And then you've got education contracts, and that's to basically acknowledge people are either in school or in college, but you're still supporting them. So I don't have the figures. I don't ask. I don't want to know. But they're supported in their cricket is the point. And then aside from that, there's a full time coaching setup. So
Hmm.
you talk to people about it's only 10 years ago we didn't even have a full time coach. I think who was
Hmm.
our coach in 2015. We might have just had a full time coach at that stage. So
Hmm.
that's just the one person getting paid. And then we might have had, I think our manager was Suzanne Keneally. So she worked for Cricket Ireland, and then as part of her duties, she was kind of allowed to come on tour with us, but she wasn't a manager. She was in logistics in Cricket Ireland. So in quite a short space of time, things have really turned around, and it was something we would have been crying out for, but it just wasn't possible at the time. But yeah, I think Bangladesh, I remember when they first got contracts, and it was when I was still playing. I couldn't tell you the year, but I remember because it was like they went from, they just didn't have the time to put into their cricket to suddenly so professional, and we're clearly training all the time. So it does make a huge difference no matter who it is.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And we mentioned Gabby Lewis, and just for this, for our viewers, uh, apart from being the former captain herself, Isobel Joyce, her brother was the coach of the Ireland team as well. He wore hats as well. We
Yeah.
all know about Ed Joyce, but so due to that, you have direct insights as well. You know the players yourself.
Mhm.
And one of those players who's doing really well in this ICC Women's Qualifier is Jane Maguire. Even
Yeah.
though the team didn't win, but she performed really well with the ball.
Yes, she has. And what's really important for Jane is that she went to Australia in the winter, in our winter. So just before that tour to Bangladesh, and she would have been expecting to go on that tour, and then she did her knee.
Ooh.
She played one game in Australia, traveled all the way there, played one game, and then did her knee. So she was out of contention for selection for the Bangladesh series, and then the series in January against India. So she is like, this is her first time coming back after knee surgery and rehabilitation. So, I mean, would she have been picked if other players hadn't been injured? I think she probably would have been in the squad. I don't know if she would have been in the starting 11. So it's huge for her. And I think for me, when looking from afar, it shows her strength of character that she got her opportunity and she's come through and taken it. And that's a real positive for not just her, but for Irish supporters and the coaching staff, because she kind of looks like she's not that quick when you're watching on the stream or on TV, and she's not that quick, but she's a bit taller than you think, and she's got quite a tall action, so she bowls it down into the pitch, and she swings it away and has great slower balls. So she doesn't really need that extra yard of pace. It comes onto you a little bit more quickly than you expect, and because of her extra height, she's able to bowl it down into the pitch rather than it just kind of kissing the surface. So, yeah, she's been brilliant, and she was able as well. She used to be really good at the top swinging it. Now she comes back and she bowls slower balls and gets wickets each time she comes on. That's what she's done the last two games. So
Mhm. Mhm.
despite the results, and she actually, I think, should have had four today, if not five, with dropped catches.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was the disappointment for Ireland. I mean, I'm sure we'll get to why Ireland have lost the two games, but the catching was not good.
Mhm. So would you rather blame the fielding, or would you
Mm.
think, like, would you say that that's where you lag behind?
Yeah, so the first game, Ireland bowled a lot of extras. I think it was 26 or 27 wides. And you can go back. I'm not a stato, but I'm sure if you go back and look at the seventh delivery in any of those overs, or seventh and eighth, if there were a couple of wides, you can directly attribute a good few runs, as well as the 27 actual extras. But yeah, Ireland, I think, just struggling with a little bit of consistency with the ball. And then they came back, bowled really well today. And then the fielding was just, I mean, it wasn't like I throw the ball to you now and you shell it. But there are chances that if there are six, you're hoping to take all six. You expect to take 4 out of 6, right? And they dropped 6 of them. So that was criminal. And the batters they dropped, it was like Stefani Taylor on 2, Zayda James on 2. There was Chanel Henry on 1 and 11. So, and they scored something like 36, 45, 46,
Yeah.
I want to say. I
Except they
mean,
got.
other batters would have come in and faced those deliveries, of course, but it wouldn't have been those batters.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been those batters. You never
Yeah.
know. Sometimes one gets two. We keep on saying that.
Mhm.
Yeah, those things are there. But at the same time, like with the bat in hand, I think Amy Hunter's been doing well.
Mm.
Besides Jane Maguire, Jane got 3 firsts versus Ireland. Beg your pardon, versus Pakistan and West Indies. These are top 2 sides, and Amy Hunter got runs. So these are positives to take up from.
Yeah, there is. And the thing is, when I'm looking at whether batters have performed well, it's usually how they get out. If someone's got you out, you just kind of go, okay. I mean, could I have done something different? Maybe, but like hats off. So you'd say Gabby and Amy opened today. Usually, Gabby opens with Sarah Forbes, or has been for the last little while. They opted for an extra bowler today and brought in Amy at the top, which I really like because Gabby's actually quite slow at the top of the order. People forget this because she catches up so well. But Amy is very positive at the start, so I think it's actually a really good combination. And Gabby got out to Haley, but Haley bowled around the wicket, pushed it across her, and it went through the gate. Gabby guilty a little bit of pushing at it, but well done to the bowler. She kind of set her up. But for a lot of the other dismissals, it's just people getting themselves out, and it was the same in the first game. And that's my fear with Ireland against Bangladesh, because you've got 4 spinners there who are just going to keep the stumps in play, alter their pace slightly, and it's just asking Ireland to bat well for 50 overs against balls that are on the stumps and moving around a little bit. So you can hit one good shot, but you have to not get out as well. Which
Yeah.
sounds very simplistic, but
Yeah, yeah. It is simple, but then again, not. Then
yeah.
again, not. Yes, and I think for the Gabby Lewis wicket, I'll give a lot of credit to the bowler. She actually did set her up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like people underestimate Haley's ability to go up and down the pace. Like I'd love if they could actually tell us. I know that we're not going to get this from these qualifiers, but what the paces she's bowling at just vary, and she reads batters so well. So yeah, I mean, Gabby, when she was walking off, she was disappointed that she had pushed at it. Maybe she could have blocked it, but she was set up because she had started off bowling in at Gabby's legs, and then she moved it across, and then we saw what happened. So
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
it's
To be fair,
definitely
Haley.
instructive for Bangladesh bowlers.
Yeah, yeah. But then again, Haley really does read the game very well, assesses conditions quickly, and then again, she's also a leader, and not only what the captains had in on her head, but with the ball in hand, with the bat in hand. Whenever the team needs her, she's like right there, even before anyone realizes she's there. But given that, yeah, we mentioned Amy is in good form. So is Gabby Lewis. You're getting starts. Conversion rate is there, so you're more worried about how the batting is going to go against Bangladesh spinners. You mentioned that. But also, I'd like to touch base on Orla Prendergast because I remember how effective as an all-rounder she was when Ireland team toured Bangladesh. And either the ODI or the T20, I don't remember exactly. She was player of the series in one of the formats. How
T20.
crucial is Orla?
Yeah, it was the T20 series. I think she took, was it 10 wickets? It was nip and tuck who would get it, but she got it. Yeah, she's really important. We talk about for Bangladesh the players that you need to score runs. And I think the problem for Orla is she's a nervous starter, and you can see that by how she played today. And what you don't get is nervous starts from those top three batters that you've spoken about for Bangladesh. They're not worried about not scoring early on, whereas Orla's used to scoring early, fine, like getting going. She likes running up and down the wickets. She's so quick between the wickets. So she's looked nervous the last 2 days, and she, yeah, got herself out both times coming down the pitch when it just wasn't necessary. Just ran down at Sadia Iqbal and got, like, York just haven't got bowled in the first game, and then today she cotton bowled. Actually, she got Haley cotton bowled, and then she was out cotton bowled to Haley, so it was kind of a funny turnaround. But yeah, she's really important. The other thing that I find very strange for Orla is she's barely fielded a ball, and she's Ireland's best fielder. So I find that very frustrating. So, like, they need to figure out how to get her in the game, in the
Does
field.
that, yeah, so does that bring up the importance of placing the right fielders in the right positions?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, no matter what team in the world, you look at the Champions Trophy, who's taking the catches? It's Glenn Phillips. So if you've got a bowler who's going to bowl short and wide outside off, he's the one in point to take the screamer. It's not to say no one else can do it, but you put him there as the most likely opportunity. So where were the drop catches for Ireland? Two at extra cover, one at deep mid wicket, one was by the keeper, so she's not taking that one. And there were a couple more as well. One was a cotton bowled, so she's obviously not going to catch that one. But yeah, like, she just hasn't been in the game. So I think they keep on putting Orla and Gabby out at long off and long on, and their bowlers aren't really bowlers who get hit there that much when the fielders are out. So we don't have any spinners, right, in our team. So then just put two other fielders there and then get Gabby in order in other places. But for Orla, I think it'll be a real shame for the tournament if we don't see Orla come good with the bat. And that was kind of the case in India. She wasn't in good form at the bat in India. Everyone was talking her up. She'd even been mooted for a spot in the WPL, which she didn't get into. And yeah, it's just since she got into the WBBL, and we saw little bits and pieces of her batting well, but she was quite far down the order, and it looks like she's lost her mojo a little bit. So for an Ireland fan, what you want is an Orla Prendergast on song, because she's just incredible to watch when she is.
She is, without a doubt, without a doubt. Now, coming back to, first and foremost, like, let's hope for the best for Orla Prendergast. But like, as a
Not
Bangladesh,
for you.
pardon?
Not for you against
Oh,
Bangladesh,
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, not that much, not that much, not the next one.
Later.
Yeah. I'm sure the Bangladesh fans would be hoping that. But now, coming to Bangladesh, who do you think are the players to watch out for the Ireland team for the next match?
So if you're a Bangladesh supporter and you don't know Ireland very, very well, is that it?
No. So if you were with the Ireland team,
Yeah.
who are the players you'll be watching out for versus Bangladesh?
Sorry, I just need to clarify. If you're looking from Ireland to Bangladesh, who are they? Who are they mindful of? Okay,
Mhm.
gotcha. Well, I think definitely Pinky. They'll know very well. She's quite a cheeky character, in a great way. So she likes
Mhm.
to. She kind of likes to have a little to and fro with the team in a friendly way, but she can try and get under your skin. And she has a pretty good record against Ireland. She's travelled to Ireland a few times, and she knows the players pretty well, albeit a lot of them are reasonably new. And then, I mean, you can't look past Jyoti, because she is the linchpin, and I'm sure that they'll have spoken about her quite a lot. She has such staying power as well, and can go through the gears. So it's about, if there's an opportunity to get her out, that they've got to take it. So I think those two with the bat in hand, and then with the ball, I think. Is who would you pick not to look out for with the ball, really? Because the spin attack, I mean, only 5 bowlers used. Marufa probably gets. No one thinks about her because all the spinners come behind, but she's a handful, especially against a predominantly right-handed team. She could kind of maybe come in and surprise Ireland, because they're so thinking about the spin. And
Mhm.
then, especially if Bangladesh bowl first, because there's quite a lot of swing, it looks like, in Pakistan. So she's an exciting one for you guys. But yeah, I think the spinners are going to be the real issue for Ireland, trying to just be a little bit more boring in their shot selection, looking for ones rather than the big shot. If they can manage early on to push mid off and mid on out, get the field spread, and then just be boring, then I think Ireland will do okay. If they are not willing to be boring, and then I think it's going to be a difficult one to get past Bangladesh.
Mm-hmm. So, but one advantage Ireland has is that they've played both their matches at the Gaddafi Stadium,
Mm.
and Bangladesh will be playing their first match in Gaddafi Stadium as far as the women's qualifiers is concerned.
Yeah, Ireland have played as well Pakistan in a series in Gaddafi Stadium a couple of years ago, so they're very comfortable there. I mean, I don't think there's any demons in the pitch. I don't think anyone needs to worry about the conditions. To be fair, and it's such a big ground. I heard them talking, the commentators, about no matter, even though they moved the pitch really far over, they still had a perfect circle of 65 all around, or a perfect oval. So it's not like you need to understand the dimensions or anything like that. So I'm not sure Bangladesh will be too worried about the fact that Ireland have played at that stadium. What they'll be thinking is this isn't too different to back home, where you can deal with the heat a little bit better. So I think for Bangladesh, they'll be coming in, especially off the back of that series, that three match 1 day series at the end of last year. They'll be coming in quietly confident. And that's not saying they don't know that Ireland can cause an upset. They know that Ireland can, but they'll think that they have the upper hand.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure they will have that boost of confidence, especially after the performance, after how they kickstarted the tournament. That those things will be there, but of course, none of us are there physically at the moment, but it might differ from team to team. But which team do you think would do what, having won the toss?
Oh, on Sunday, who's going to do? I think, well, Ireland have won the toss twice and have bowled first.
Yeah, so it's actually Thailand who won the toss and elected to field first.
Actually, I remember them talking about that, and they thought it was a baffling decision, didn't they? The commentators. I think Lenny was surprised, and then they were trying to decide, was that because Thailand wanted to get out in the field as a group? But yeah, I think Bangladesh probably would have batted first had they won the toss anyway, because their bowling attack, while those batters that we've mentioned are very good, their bowling attack is their strength. So against Ireland, I think they would want runs on the board and then back their bowlers to defend whatever it is that they put up. So I think that regardless of who wins the toss, it's going to be Ireland bowling first and Bangladesh batting 1st.
Mm-hmm. Ireland bowling first, or regardless of that,
Yeah.
unless Jyoti decides that give our bowlers a run first and
Yeah.
then limit the Irish team and then go chase the runs. But ideally, at Gaddafi, with the conditions and the pitch, you would want to give your batters a run, and especially
Yeah.
with the confidence they have.
Exactly. That's what I think. That's what I think. I'm always happy to be proven wrong. But as you know yourself, as commentators, we're paid to give an opinion. We're not paid to be right.
Yeah, I think this should be reiterated time and time again.
We're
Yeah,
not in betting. We're not in. That's why we're not. I'm not in a mansion having bet my way to the top. But I think what I think, and I say it, and who knows what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not fortune tellers at the end of the
Yeah.
day, but yeah, bringing in all your experience is Isobel Joyce, the former captain of the Irish women's cricket team. So, if I may summarize what you said, you're keeping Bangladesh ahead of Ireland for
Mm.
the match on the 13th of April, the Sunday.
Unfortunately, yes, I have to say, I think that's the most likely. I do think Ireland have the talent and the ability to win the game, but I think, especially after the first game probably not heartbreaking, but Ireland had the beating of Pakistan, but then heartbreaking loss today. Be a really, really strong team that puts that behind them and then beats a team that beat them 3-0 in November.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah,
you never
yeah.
know.
They have to be very, very mentally strong, and you need some performers and somebody uplifting everyone else up on the field. I get that, but as far as the table is concerned, top two teams get through again. Just a reminder: the top two teams will qualify for the Women's World Cup later this year in India. And you mentioned how you think now, given the conditions, and now you've just watched a couple of matches, you put Bangladesh and Pakistan, the hosts, ahead for the top two seats. But as far as the table is concerned, Scotland could be, a tough competition as far as Bangladesh is also concerned.
Yeah, definitely. Because actually, I mean, I was talking to Marina Iqbal, who's one of the commentators there, and was commentating on the game Pakistan-Scotland. And she said that Scotland should have won that game. They batted pretty well in a reduced game. and then
Mm-hmm.
they just dropped a couple chances. And Pakistan's batting lineup is not that long.
Mm-hmm.
So if they'd caught, she said that Scotland, if they'd caught a few of their catches, they would have won hands down. Like not just snuck through. They should have beaten. They should have won easily. So they'll be kicking themselves, especially after beating West Indies on game one. But I'm really interested to see. I mean, I have Pakistan as going through, but they still have to play West Indies, and they have to play Bangladesh. So if they don't manage to win those two games, it could end up being very, very tight.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly everyone can beat anyone.
Izzy, sorry again. Somebody just rang the bell. So
Yeah,
can
I
we
heard.
catch up from the last bit of it, please?
Yeah. I can't even remember what I said. It'll be really interesting to see now, though, because Pakistan still have to play West Indies. They still have to play Bangladesh,
Mm-hmm.
and any of those teams can beat each other. So
Mm-hmm.
it's by no means, it's not one of those tournaments where it's decided day one or two.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in a round robin, sometimes that can happen. Two teams win and then everything falls by the wayside. But it's not that type of tournament, so it's still very interesting. It's still nip and tuck, and the really brilliant thing for me is we've had so many tight matches, which you
Mm-hmm.
don't often get in 50-over qualifiers.
Yeah, yeah, and like referring to Bangladesh, they're playing Ireland on the 13th, Scotland on the 15th, West Indies on the 17th, and Pakistan on the 19th. Yep, that's correct. So, like, how do you think the schedule or the schedule's nicely poised out for Bangladesh? Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, I think so because Bangladesh are a fit team. They don't generally ship injuries through a heavy workload. Whereas you think a West Indies, maybe there's a couple of players in there that might get an injury. Haley's got a huge workload. We saw how that was on the first day. I don't know, did you catch the histrionics? It was Haley went off injured, not injured, sorry,
Yeah,
I think with cramp, then
cramp.
came back
And then
on,
she
then
came back.
then the stretcher, and then it was like back from the dead. It was absolutely brilliant viewing. So if they get to the World Cup and then they win it, this is like a movie in the making, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah. And she is one of those characters, isn't she, Haley Matthews?
Yeah.
Perfect heroic moment.
Yeah,
Comes
it would have
back,
been.
gets to a century.
Yeah, and then they lose the game, though. I mean, it would have been probably, from her point of view, better if they'd won. But I think, especially Stefanie Taylor, she's been plagued by injuries. Can she survive 5 games in a row? So you're catching her at the back end. She was important today when things went a bit rocky. Aside
Mhm.
from those two, I think they're probably unless they have an unlucky injury, which anyone can have. And then you've got Scotland, who they've already lost Darcy Carter through a hand injury. They could have one or two injuries. So you're catching them kind of in the middle. And then Thailand, depending on how the next few games go, they might be like, oh, we want to get on the plane. They could have some really good performances because they do have really good, some excellent batters at the top of the order. But if those few players kind of who are coming back in, Chaiwai I think was injured for a long time there from last year. So if they have a long tournament, it could be good to. Well, I mean, you're not getting them last. Who's your last game?
I think it's Pakistan. Yeah.
Pakistan. So Pakistan, it could come down to Bangladesh, Pakistan, which I think is almost like a final. And the good thing for you guys, you're playing on the last day. Ireland,
Hmm.
Scotland play on the Friday, so you'll know what you need to do if Ireland or Scotland are in the mix.
Yeah. You know the maths and
Yeah,
what needs
which
to
I
be
think is
done.
terrible, by the way. That shouldn't happen. All the teams should play on the last day.
Yeah.
PSL,
Huh?
PSL taking all the grounds, meaning you can't play.
Yeah.
You don't have three. You don't have three places you can play an international fixture.
But that's one of the reasons why I thought of doing this again. Let's start this and let's put some focus on the women again. They deserve it. They highly
Yes,
do deserve it. And characters such as Haley Matthews do help it. Nigar Sultana Jyoti as well, Gabby Lewis, those things are there. But you mentioned the mathematics side of it, and going into the last day when Bangladesh play Pakistan uh, and Thailand play West Indies, they know what each of them need to do if there is a chance of qualification, if it goes down the wire and onto the last day. But how much of that actually does help, or could there be some players who don't want that pressure?
it's all pressure in qualifiers. Every game is so pressure filled. I'm not sure that it adds any pressure to have that. All it does is give you an advantage. Possibly, it might not come down to that. There's a high possibility that it comes down to Bangladesh, Pakistan, West Indies on the last day, and two of the three go through. So if Thailand beat West Indies, maybe Pakistan, Bangladesh both go through. Or if West Indies beat Thailand, then it's a straight shootout between Bangladesh and Pakistan. So look, at the moment, it's really pie in the sky because we don't know where we're going to be in a couple of days' time. But it does mean, like, a lot of the time, it just comes down to a straight shootout between two teams. What I hope doesn't happen is that Bangladesh and Pakistan are going through, and then that's the game on the last day,
Mhm.
because they'll both want to win, but it's much
Mm,
better for an independent viewer if it's one has to beat the other to go through.
yeah, yeah, it spices things up.
Correct.
Absolutely, yeah, for a nail biter, without a doubt. But Izzy, thank you so much for joining. And if something like that happens, maybe we'll catch up again later if you're available. But thank you so much for your time today. But just before we finish, I'll ask that question one more time. Who are the top two teams you think are going to qualify?
This is
Who do
going
you
to
think?
haunt me around the place, isn't it? This is following me around the world, that you're going to making me say who I think is going to make it through. I think it's at this moment in time, as of Friday the 11th of April, that it's Pakistan and Bangladesh.
All right, let's see. I'm sure that the audience here in Bangladesh, the viewers here, they're going to like you very much for having said that. But only time will tell. Also in Pakistan, but only time will tell. And
Listen,
I'm sure we're going to catch up again.
before we go, I'm going to make you nail your flag to the mast, because I'm not going to be the only one who's being hung out to dry here. Who are your two for going through?
Oh, you had to. You had to. I thought I would get away. I
Mhm.
thought I'm going to get away. Um, having seen the table, I think I go with you as well. Pakistan and Bangladesh, they do have the upper hand when it comes to the conditions. Uh, the, you know, Pakistan obviously playing at home, and Bangladesh is very similar to home. They are aware of the conditions, and I think Deanna Doughton missing. I think West Indies are really, really missing her services, because when Bangladesh toured West Indies, I think besides Haley Matthews and some others chipping in, D. Dodden was a big factor. I think they're missing her massively. Other than that, I think West Indies would have been a serious, serious contender. And you never know. As far as Bangladesh and Pakistan and West Indies fans are concerned, and even Irish fans are concerned, Ireland fans are concerned, Scotland might just come in here and be the
Mm.
party hoopers. So, with all due respect to them, but yeah, I'll keep Pakistan and Bangladesh ahead, of course.
Yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough. We'll
fair.
we'll we'll check back in a few days and see if we were both way off the mark.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see. Hope not. Hope not. At least not with Bangladesh, I'd say. But I wouldn't mind seeing Ireland and Bangladesh both being there. But with all due respect, I think having lost the first two matches
Mm,
puts a lot of pressure back on Ireland, and being a young team, it might just play into their
mm.
minds, and the other teams are gonna bring their A game to each of the matches as well.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you so much for having me, Shamanoi.
yeah, pleasure having you on the mic with Samannoy Ghosh. Thank you for your time, and wish you all the best, and the Ireland team all the best as well.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the next time already.
Look forward to it. Likewise, thank you.